portfolio for week 4. So this is the last part of the first assessment task. This week the main concept we talked about was division. I really liked the way how division was explained as is it fair. So far as my experience through my university degree, children really are all about fairness. Even 3-4-year-olds that I've had at prac know exactly if something is fair, if it's even, if everyone is getting the same. You can give someone two, say even there's like a tiny little half a biscuit left, and you were to give that to one child, they all know that that's not fair. Why don't I get that same? We should all get the same amount. This, I think, will be very useful because I was actually quite surprised that division was introduced in year 2. That was quite early to me, but when I thought about it as the way of sharing, it made sense to sort of get that fundamental learning started before it moves on. I found this week interesting because obviously division gets too much of a higher level. Addition, you can sort of get away with, even the bigger numbers are just like somewhat as easy as the smaller numbers, but division can get very difficult very fast. So it's actually extended throughout just year 2, but you keep learning about. While addition you sort of stop learning about, multiplication you keep learning about well until year 7. So I thought that was interesting, and I found it quite hard this week, probably because it does sort of, as it got harder, it focuses more on those older age groups that I haven't had much experience with. That sort of made it hard for me to know how I would explain it to children, as I kind of learnt long division in a weird way. I think compared to a lot of people, sort of I got it straight away, but I actually 6 months later I met teachers and my parents realised I actually had no idea what I was doing, and when we were learning it, it was just a freak accident that I happened to get a lot of the answers right. So that I thought that was quite interesting. Just moving down. As well, a lot of the strategies as well have to extend on for an older age group and bigger numbers. That video I posted I thought was really interesting because she was talking to the students about trying to cut down on time, because if you were to say the example she uses with drawing out the baskets, if you put one in each basket you would be there for, I think the answer was 17, so you'd be going around 17 times. It really just wouldn't work. So I thought it was interesting how she got the children to think about the bigger numbers and using those. That would be something that I wouldn't have considered before that I now do consider. We also talked about how there is 2 algorithms. There's the distributive and the subtractive algorithm for division. Subtractive algorithm is pretty much repeated subtraction, which is a lot easier for me to say, so I'm just going to keep calling it that from now on. And that would be, I would suppose, be used more for the quotation method of division questions, because you're removing things and trying to distribute them rather than the partition type. There's also, we needed to focus on how you can't divide by 0. There's never a question. I thought this wouldn't be an issue too often, but I could see it being in a classroom when you're getting, maybe when children starting to write their own answers, that they might start be doing 4 divided by 0, and therefore they'll start thinking that yes, you can divide by 0. So when you talk about the factors of 0, how can you share nothing? Sit down and say to the class, I'm going to give you all something really fun, but I've got 0 of them, so how many of them are you each going to get? And that to me will sort of get into their heads that, hey, wait a second, if you've got nothing, how are you meant to share it? And it's sort of a waste of time to even ask the question in the first place. This then carries on to algebra, which I thought was quite interesting because I never quite made the connection between algebra and how you can't divide by 0. I never noticed that, even when I did my 2-unit maths in high school. I just never even considered it that it's a possibility. So that would obviously come from my primary school education, where we learnt that you can't divide by 0. So that's all I have to say in the video for this week. I've got all my other reflections, bits and bobs down below, and I look forward to speaking to you not next week but the week after. Thank you.